How's everybody? Boy, you're excited, I can tell.
You are
I tell you. Listen, let's talk about the basic stuff here. In today's world, we've got all these wonderful electronic computer guided everythings. And yet, from time to time, the batteries are going to go dead. And how many of us have heard that, buzz followed by some not so gentle words, followed by, Fred, what am I looking at? We all need to have a good basic understanding. And we've also got a lot of new people here. So this, I hope, will help everybody. All right, what we'd like to do is when you leave tonight, we want you to know how to read a monthly star chart, how to find a few things, and most importantly, what to expect those things to really look like once you do find them. Have y'all found any differences between what's on the internet and what you see through the eyepiece? Just a little. You need a few basic things. Most people don't know where north, south, east, and west. Don't feel bad because very few people do. Another basic thing to understand is the horizon. It's basically where the earth meets the sky. The zenith is another term you'll hear. It's just strictly the point that's straight up above us. And also the ecliptic. This one is towards the south for us, and it's a line in the sky, imaginary line that the sun and the planets and the moon follow. With those, you can understand an awful lot about amateur astronomy. All right, as far as where's north, sun rises in the east and sets in the west. With your right hand where the sun comes up, note where it is. Your left hand where the sun goes down, your nose is pointing north. The back of your head is pointing south. That's your basic orientation right there. Now, everybody's familiar with a compass. Now, a compass, we've divided the compass into 360 divisions, 360 different directions, so we can really fine tune the location of a particular object. That's interesting. This is the compass rose. It's got 32 points, 32 divisions. For hundreds of years, this is all people used to navigate the seven seas. They were very good at it. But now we need more definition. We've got 360 divisions. We'll talk about the North Star here in just a second. You can see here the zenith straight overhead. North, this is divided into 360 separate divisions. East is 90, south is 180, west is 360. 90 degrees from the horizon to straight up. That's where the zenith is. Now, this one is for a little bit further north, so they're showing the north celestial pole 40 degrees. Ours is 33.5 degrees off of the horizon. This is a view I took showing just from one of our apps showing due south. And this shows the ecliptic from a southerly view. You see Jupiter, the moon, and this is about 8 or 8:30, so you're still seeing Venus. These are where you're going to find the planets, the sun, and the moon. You see a bright object somewhere on this line, it's more likely a planet. Now, I want you, this view, though, it's a little out of kilter. It's only good for what's straight up right here. If you look due west, you get a better view or perspective of what you're actually going to see if you look out towards the west. You'll see this in a minute when we start to use the charts. This is a view going north. Now, the next thing we need to talk about is constellations and asterisms. This is what you see when you first start looking at the sky. All you see is little points of light out there. They don't make any sense at all. So the people in ancient times They didn't have anything to write with or anything, so they made up stories and they saw objects in the heavens. And that's where these things came from. These are the constellations. They connected the dots. Once again, looking due north, this is the asterism of the Big Dipper. It's part of the constellation of the Big Bear. You can kind of see this, kind of looks like a bear right there, this tail. These two stars right here at night, when it's clear that you can find your way north, they will point to Polaris, the North Star. So here's another way you can find north at night. Once again, now we've got constellations, we've got asterisms. You can use these as pointers and find just about anything. This is part of the constellation of Boötes, the herdsman. I have no idea where they get a herdsman from out of this one right here. But he is close to the two bears, and that's what he's supposed to be doing, is herding the bears as they go around. Just coming up is the constellation of Hercules. And within the Hercules constellation, you have an asterism right here of a cornerstone. And that's what it looks like too. Once it gets a little bit higher, this is very obvious. Back over here, you have another asterism. This is part of Cassiopeia, or the Big W. She is a princess that's been chained to a rock to appease a monster. This is Perseus. He's coming to her rescue, flying on the wings of Pegasus, and he's got the head of the Gorgon. He's going to kill the monster and save the girl. But unfortunately, it's a Greek story, and you know all Greek stories end as a tragedy. But this is what you can see to go out there at night and look north. Now, 2 hours from now, notice that the Big Dipper is now moved. All of the stars in the constellations are going to be moving in a counterclockwise fashion around Polaris. Polaris, it happens to be the central axis of the Earth at this particular time. Now, this is actually moves around every 26,000 years. This point moves in a small circle. At certain times of the year, you can actually trace that path. But it moves like this. You need to understand how the stars move hour to hour and also how they move from month to month. Now, looking south tonight, you'll see another asterism, the reverse question mark, that is the mane of Leo the lion. Now, if you wait a couple of months from now, it's moved farther to the west. This is because the Earth is moving around the sun, and we're seeing different stars each night. These are the stars that you'll see on the ecliptic. Does anything strike you about these particular names of these stars? It's the zodiac. People have been telling fortunes using these for years and years. They still make a really good living at it. Now, the one thing that is good, that can be predicted year in and year out with the zodiac, are the seasons. Somebody long time ago realized that every time it started to get cold, these particular constellations were in the sky. And that when a different set of constellations was in the sky, it was starting to turn warm. Now, this gave people the ability to know when it's going to freeze, when they need to plant crops, when they need to start storing crops. And supposedly this is where this thing called civilization started. It's really bright people just happen to be looking up and noticing things. Now, this is what I'm going to show you some sites here in a second. I want everybody to print them out a copy of this when they get home. The evening sky map, they print these out monthly. From right here, you can see that little X right there, or cross mark right there, is the zenith. Now, this was made for 40 degrees north, so it's a little bit different, but this is close enough so you can see what's going on. Once again, here's the Big Dipper. Here's the Little Dipper. Snaking around, that is the Dragon Draco. Here's Leo, the mane of the lion, right there. Now, remember when we looked at the compass? North, south, east was back to the right, and west was back to the left. Now, who knows why east and west appear to be reversed on this one? No takers?
Supposed to be facing south?
Supposed to be, they're as seen from above. Which, now you're on the right track though. So the way you want to use this, a lot of people take them and they hold them out flat like this, and that's not how you want to use this thing. All right, first, let me tell you, this is the back of it. It's got all kinds of good information on this. A little bit about a glossary, things that you can see with binoculars. It gives their names, and you can go on the other side and find the locations. You can spend the whole month with just this one piece of paper. All I've done is I've taken this and I've put north at the bottom. When you get these things, you want to take it, turn it around if you're facing north so that north is at the bottom. Now you can see, once again, here's the little cross mark. This is straight up. Here's your zenith. So you know everything from the horizon to the zenith is going to be right in here. And if you go out there and look at the sky, well, if you could, it's a little bit cloudy out there right now, you'd see that this is actually where the Big Dipper is located right now. Look at something else. Let me talk about something else first. See these star magnitudes right here? This is an indication of how bright the stars are. The lower the number, the brighter the star. The higher the number, the dimmer the star. This shows down to mag 4. Here in the south of Birmingham, we got terrible light pollution. You'll be doing good if you can see mag 4 stars on a good bright night without the moon. One way you can tell it's going to be a really transparent night is to look at the Little Dipper. Most nights I can see Polaris and this bright star here, which is called Cocom. Those are the only two stars I can see in the Little Dipper. And I know it's not going to be a good night for looking for dim objects, but there's plenty of other stuff that we're about to talk about that you can see. All right, that's north. Looking back to the east, once again, here's the zenith straight up. This area right in here is what you're going to be able to see. Here's Hercules, it's starting to rise. Once again, you know, this isn't, you have to really be looking at this from the north to get the proper perspective on this. But if you're looking from the east, if you want to find Hercules, that's going to be your assignment. Between the northeast and the east, rotate this to where you're between those two. And this is where you'll find Hercules right here. See these bright stars, the bigger dots are the brighter stars, Arcturus. Polaris is a relatively bright star. Cocom, the rest of these are mag 4 or lower. They're going to be very difficult to see, but on a clear night, you'll be able to see them. I'm now turning it back to the south, rotating it back to the south, looking to the south. Here's your zenith. Here's your reverse question mark, showing you the mane of Leo the lion. You've got a constellation right here. Notice the stars are tiny dots on this one. This is Cancer the Crab. You're going to be doing real good to see this constellation. It's going to take a remarkably dark, transparent night for you to see this from a suburban area. And yet there are things in here you can still find if you got a pair of binoculars. Right, finally, back to the west. If you look up from the west, you'll see two stars right there, Pollux and Castor, part of the Gemini twins. This is showing Jupiter. This is the brightest object in the sky. You'll be able to spot that right on. All right, now we talk about a little bit about reading the maps and kind of how to find things. This is what M13 is going to look like when you look in the magazines. Now, when you look through your telescope or your binoculars, you're going to see something closer to this, probably a lot dimmer than this. But you found it. Once again, this is what it's going to look like. And this is the dumbbell, M27, the dumbbell. This is what you're going to see probably, and that's really not too bad for what you'll actually see through your telescope. All right, this is the whale. It looks like a whale. This is what you're going to see, very faint hints of objects, but that means you found them, and that's what you're going to see. This is how they're going to look through your eyepiece. Now, there are a few other things that you're going to be able to see. Of course, the moon, it's going to look just like this. Jupiter's going to look very close to this. Saturn, I think, is coming up early in the morning now. Be very early. You'll be able to see it. It's transitioning back towards something like this now. And colorful double stars. These are something you can see regardless of what your light pollution. Albireo is the nose of the swan. The swan's starting to rise now in the east. Another couple, 3 weeks, you'll be able to see this nice. And this is Mu Chi Draco in the constellation of Draco. And with a little bit of looking around, you can find this. It is bright cherry red. It jumps out at you. But carbon stars and colorful double stars, these are absolutely gorgeous. We could see these last night, even in the middle of UAB in downtown Birmingham. The kids loved this. All right, so how do you find these things? All right, once again, looking back towards the west, you're going to see Pollux and Castor. These two stars are going to be obvious. Now, you won't see Cancer at all, but you will see this star is called Regulus. It's a nice bright star at the very base of the main of the line. Now, if you draw a straight line in your mind between Gemini and Regulus, go halfway between that and start wandering around in here with your telescope on its widest field of view or your binoculars, you'll see M44, the beehive. This is a large open cluster of bright stars, and it's really magnificent once you find it. It's obvious. Now, looking back to the east, you can find the keystone asterism of Hercules. Look a little bit between these two stars, and you'll see M13. It'll be a fuzzy patch in your binoculars. Now, this one's a little more challenging in Bootes, Arcturus. These two stars, right, these are kind of faint, but it's obvious double star. Make an equilateral triangle, go to the apex, start wandering around, and you'll see another fuzzy patch right there. And you found your first 3 deep sky objects. Okay. Think you can find north, south, east, and west now? Think so. You understand how the stars move from hour to hour and from month to month. You think you can use one of these maps to identify bright stars and start to make out some of the stars in the constellations. You understand now how objects appear in magazines versus what you're really going to see in the eyepiece. Just be prepared for that. And you can also, with a little bit of practice, you can now find a few of the brighter objects. The batteries never go dead on this, like mine did last night. So I've got you some homework. Find the North Star. Look at it from hour to hour and notice how the stars are moving counterclockwise around the Northern Star, the North Star players. Also, I want you to find 3 bright stars. Arcturus, which we talked about. Procyon, we didn't talk about, but it's back towards the south. It's the small dog. And Capella, which is actually kind of a yellow star, and the constellation of Origo. You can look these up. They're all, but once again, it's all on this one nice little reference. Start to get familiar with the stars and the constellations and the shapes. Now I want you to look due south. Look for Leo. Once again, the reverse question mark. Note where it is again. Then every week or so, notice how Leo is slowly moving to the west. It's actually us moving 67,000 miles an hour around the sun, back towards the east. I want you to find, we just looked at M44, the beehive, M3 and M13, some nice big globular clusters. These things look like a spoonful of sugar on black velvet. And Jupiter, using binoculars. All right, here's some references. And once again, these you'll be able to see these online. Sky maps, deep sky wash. This is astronomy sketches. With all the imaging these days, it's hard to get people to dim the images down to see what you're going to see through the eyepiece. But luckily, we've got a lot of really good sketchers out there to show you what you really see in the eyepiece. And also the Astro Imager, this guy is taking a lot of images of the Messiers. You can kind of compare what it's looking like here on this guy's website with what they look like on this guy's sketching site right here. Anybody got any questions? All right. Thanks so much.